Cruising around Utah in a couple Merc Woodies on a day like this, I'm in seventh heaven. It really feels like a brand new 1941 car. Hi, I'm Dennis Gage. Well, this week we're in South Jordan, Utah to check out a couple cars in the collection of Ron Thorne. Now, Ron's focus is early Ford V8s, and he's probably got the most complete collection of convertibles, cabriolets, and Woodies on the planet. But today, I thought we'd pull out a couple of Ron's Merc Woodies, because they're arguably even more rare, plus I'm crazy about Mercuries. Hit it. Well, Ron, what a day, what a couple cars you've got here. Man, I've heard about your collection for years, and I know you're a Ford guy, but we brought out a couple Mercs today because I think they're pretty special.
They are.
This one here is particularly special, though. This 41 is an all-original car, right?
That's correct. Everything's original on it. The paint's original, the wood's original, the interior's original. The chrome, the stainless, everything's original. It hasn't been restored. I
mean, how rare must that be? I mean, Mercs are rare to begin with, but these babies rotted away. I mean, not even the rust, but the rot.
That's really why they stopped making the Woody Wagons, is they had so many problems with the upkeep on the wood. It just was too expensive and too time-consuming for the consumer.
What was the purpose of the wood body? Was there a functional reason for that? I never really knew.
Yeah, probably the closest thing you could say, it was kind of a sportsman car, and it would maybe be equivalent today to what you might call like an SUV.
Mm-hmm. So original paint. I mean, yeah, you know, there's scuffs and some scratches and stuff, but this is 1941. Interesting front end. I mean, of course, the Mercs were different anyway, but in 41 they weren't building all that many cars.
They really weren't, because of the war. The war years kind of slowed things down, and right after the Depression, to me, a 41 Mercury has a look of almost like an airplane. You know, you see the front of that, and it looks like it's kind of like a rocket ship or an airplane, the way the front end is contoured like that. It's a very interesting style of front end on the car.
Well, one of the things I noticed about this that's different than the Ford Woodies is you got a color matched top, right?
The interior and the top was color coordinated.
Well, and Mercs were always a step up.
Step above, a little bit longer car, a little bit longer, a little bit wider, a little more horsepower.
I can't believe the wood on this being original. It's in fabulous condition.
Mm-hmm. It is.
You know, the interior, I love Woody interiors. This is a very simple dash though, isn't it? I mean, 41, I guess they just weren't getting that fancy.
This was in the early stages of the Mercury cars, and the dashes are quite simple, but they're very, exciting to look at. Now, this dash is the original dash. The wood grain on it's original, and all the plastic is original. It's never been restored. This is an unrestored car.
Now, is that cream-colored band, is that actually plastic?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
that's held up really well, because those early plastics weren't particularly good either. Well, I always loved the wood headliner. It's just so beautiful. The workmanship that goes into that, I think, is amazing.
It is an incredible feat, to think that they had done that. They did this again just for looks. Very exciting to look at that wood.
It sure is.
Especially if you like wood as much as I do.
Well, can we open up a back door too?
Absolutely. Let's do it. A lot of room.
Yeah, now it's set up right now for an 8-passenger configuration, right?
The uniqueness of this is you could take out any combination of these seats, because they would just fold and slide right out. And so you could actually have it like an 8-passenger, or you could go down to a 3, a 5, a 6, or an 8.
And still back here too, all original wood.
All original wood. A lot of the Woody Wagons, when you find them, are missing the actual cover, because they just kind of threw them away or left them off because they were hard to change a tire if you ever got at that position.
Well, now you say this has got a slightly bigger engine than the Ford had. What's she got? Let's go look at that.
Well, it's got a 95 horsepower versus a 90. And so it's just, from the top end, it looks the same as a Ford, but you've got an extra 5 horsepower.
So you could say that there was a little bit bigger.
Well, I think that, and then also you need to realize that a Mercury, because it's a little longer and a little wider, is a little heavier car. There's a little more steel in it, and so this car weighs more than a Ford.
So they actually probably did need that 5 horse to keep it even with the Ford. And that blue block color was the block color in 41. Huh?
That's correct, and the wires, the way they're multicolored, is correct for that year.
And you say she runs nice.
Oh, it runs brand new.
Runs brand new.
You could drive this one all the way back home to Boston, or back all the way to Indiana, where you're from.
Well, the only thing I heard there was you can drive this. So, so could I drive this?
Absolutely.
Ooh, well, close her up.
Okay.
Ron, let's go cruising in a 41 Woody.
How's it run?
Oh, it's fabulous. I can't believe how light the steering is, and you can barely hear the engine. You're not even sure it's running. It really feels like a brand new 1941 car.
It's just nothing like an original old car. You get a restored car, and a lot of times when you take them all apart and disassemble them, dismantle them, and try to put them back together, they just don't seem to run.
They're never the same.
They're never quite the same, are they?
No, there's rattles and stuff that you can't get out of them, and they're only original once.
Yeah.
And even the best restoration is that way. They're just not the same. But she really does steer beautifully.
It's real tight, the steering, isn't it?
And it doesn't wander.
No, no wandering, no movement in the steering wheel.
Just everything about it, she runs like brand new.
Yep, it does. Powertrain's incredible, isn't it?
Oh, it is incredible.
Shifting, braking, suspension, steering.
And what am I looking at? 43,000 miles.
Yep, original actual miles, 43,000.
And everything works too. All your gauges work.
Yep.
I can watch the oil pressure go up and down, and we're holding decent temperature, even though it's what, 90, maybe 92 outside?
Yeah, it's in the low 90s today. Picked a very hot day to come out here, Dennis.
Boy, she shifts nice. I really like a 3 on the tree too. I like the column shift.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get onto it, it's kind of fun.
Yep. Yeah, it sure beats the automatics in them.
Oh, I bet those are dogs.
Yeah, they really are. The first year they came out with them was 51.
So Ron, tell me again, where did this car come from?
This car came from Boston, Massachusetts. A lot of the Woody wagons are from estates back east. You don't find a lot of the Woodies here in the west. They typically came from the eastern states.
Yeah, they have, I've always thought of them more as kind of an Adirondack area, upstate New York. And
exactly. There's a lot of them from that area. Connecticut, New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, you can just see summering, taking this for your summer vacation out to the lakes or something like that. Well, the car gets looks, doesn't it? Ron, that was a beautiful running car. You are absolutely right.
I told you, you would be disappointed. That's a great car, isn't it?
You weren't lying.
All Mercurys run like that.
They do, don't they?
They do. They're great.
Well, and speaking of great, let's go up a few years in time. This is now 1949.
49, the car of the year, 1949.
It's got that James Dean Merc front end.
If you're a James Dean lover, this is it.
That's the front end, but then a Woody back.
Woody back end. You've got the best of both worlds.
You do indeed. But the front end is pretty much 49 Merc. Would that be the same as any other Merc of the day?
Yep.
Well, that's the lucky part.
The front end, the whole front end is the same. So everything is usable on any body style.
But it's the back part that's the tough part to keep.
Back part, hard to find. And again, this was unique to 49 Mercurys only. So if you were looking for a grill or any type of a front end piece, a part off the front end, you'd have to find it from a 49. No other.
Not a 50.
Not a 50.
Not a 51.
Not a 51.
Now, still very rare today. How many of these are around?
42 of these known of 49 Mercury wagons. So the shoebox Mercury wagons are very hard to find.
And it's a 2-door car.
If you notice, the doors are extra wide.
They're incredibly long.
They're very wide doors. The widest doors probably in the planet.
Now, what color is this? I like this.
This is called Berwick Green Metallic.
Kind of a spring color?
A spring color.
But one of the things I noticed about this car, that, and I didn't see it at first, but the more I looked at it, I thought, boy, there's something different. And it's this dish in the door.
The contour in the door. That's the thing that probably really distinguishes this from a Ford. The Fords just had a straight panel, and they put this little curvature in there to differentiate it from a Ford versus a Mercury.
That is a complex curve to be bending wood, though.
It is. That's a toughie. If you lose that piece, you're in a lot of trouble, because it's pretty hard to get anything you're going to get bent with that same contour on it.
It seems to me like it would be the first thing to go, just by the way moisture is going to... And the wood here is different than that. This is because you've got kind of this almost mahogany-esque looking, but there's too much grain there for mahogany.
It looks a lot like mahogany, but this is actually like a birch.
A dark stained birch. Interior-wise, they dressed them up a lot now, because that dash, you know how simple the 41 was, this dash is now beautiful, and they carried the same wood colors into the dash.
They did. You've got the two-tone, and that's a wood grain in there, hand done at the plant by professional wood grainers, and the wood out there matches the exterior of the car. And look at the detail of the dash, of the gauges and the radio and the clock. It's a gorgeous dash.
It absolutely is, and again, to me, just that two-tone, it's so perfectly matched with the wood. It just carries the outside right into the car. Now, what I found interesting, though, is when I looked up here, it's got a fabric headliner.
This has a steel roof, and because it has a steel roof on it, now you've got a fabric headliner.
Was this actually for the steel roof? Was this the first year for it?
First year. First year for a steel roof in 1949.
Now, you've got this same mix and match seating configuration, though.
Same thing. You've got an 8-passenger car that could be a 3, 5, 6, or 8, and these rear seats come out very easily. You just pull them back and they pop right out.
Kind of a deceptively tall car, actually. It's almost as tall as the 41. But what I like back here, and I saw this right off the bat, I saw these really kind of weird looking taillights, but I decided it had to be some sort of hinging.
As I lower this down, notice how the taillights stay in the same plane.
So they stay horizontal. So you could actually drive this car with the tailgate down and still have taillights.
That's correct. You could have it down and you have this down. You could pull the seats out if you had something long you needed to put in there, and you'd still, from the back end, still would be legal to drive it because you could see the tailgate or the taillights on the same plane.
And how long did they use that?
They used that in 49, 50, and 51 on both Ford and Mercury.
Now, how about the power plant here? What was
This has 110 horsepower. So
let's go look at it.
Okay, let's go look at this. One's going to look a little different.
Oh yeah, now this one is completely restored.
This is a restored car.
So the orientation of the air cleaner is different. You're sitting really off to the side, not on top of the carb.
On a Mercury is off to the side, where on a Ford it would be right up on top.
And again, now we've got this almost a Berwick green block, but that would have been
the correct color. The correct color for a 49 Mercury is that green color you see there.
Another nice running car?
Very much so. This car only has 42,000 miles and runs just like the day it was new. It's an original car.
Well, let's take it out and exercise a little bit. Cars need exercise.
You want to drive this one?
If you insist.
Okay, we'll do it.
And if you didn't insist, I would.
Okay, let's do it.
So Ron, now, has this all been redone, the dash? Has it been re-wood grained? Or?
It's been touched in. Most of this wood grain is original wood grain, but it has been professional. There's a guy here in Salt Lake that's a violin builder that has very steady hands and is very good at wood graining, and this has all been touched in by him.
Boy, and when you get in the sunlight, this two-tone dash, it just,
isn't that something?
Just lights up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because it really does pop when the light hits that, and the blend between the dash and the actual wood of the side is just perfect. And the radio is really cool, but you say this is 49 only?
49 Mercury only. That's the only radio that will fit in that slot there. Nothing else will fit in it. If you try to Ford or any other Mercury radio, it won't fit. It's got to be a 49 Mercury radio, and they're very difficult to find.
You know, that sort of boggles my mind, how they used to retool every year across the whole line of products. But I do love the gauging, and it's so different than 41. And with the war, there weren't really that many car model years between that time, and yet it's completely different.
When the war ended, they carried the 46, 7, and 8 cars that were almost identical to a 42. So 42 was before the war, and then you had the 46, 7, and 8 after the war, and they all had that same body style. So this was the first new look, a kind of a new generation look that they came out with. Like I said, this car was the car of the year for 49. The 49 Ford Mercury was the car of the year.
Well, it was an absolutely revolutionary design. And it changed what cars looked like for the next 50 years.
The thing is, the car not only looks good, but I mean, you can tell the drive of this car. This car drives incredible. It's a tight car. This car only has 42,000 original miles. Again, I think this car probably runs as good as the day it came off the showroom floor, and it has not had, a lot of mechanical work done on it. It's just kind of original powertrain.
Yeah, I'm finding with this and with the 41 that as you're going along, you're not constantly correcting. You know, you're not correcting for the wander.
Yeah.
It just tracks real straight.
Beautiful mountains.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. So until our next meeting, remember, honor the timeless classics. I'm Dennis Gage. Happy motoring.